The chime of the bell beckons us into a sacred time. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of Houston, where we widen love's circle by honoring the inherent worth and dignity of all and by working towards justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We extend a heartfelt and inclusive invitation to join us in meaningful worship and in service to the world. We are excited to welcome back to our pulpit the Reverend Aaron Walter, the minister and executive director of the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. Winner of the 2017 Sermon Award from the UU Women's Federation and board member of Texas Impact, Reverend Aaron is the singer, songwriter, bassist for the band Parker Woodland and considers music a spiritual practice. In 2022, her book, Care for the World, Reflections on Community Ministry, was published by Skinner House Books. So, welcome, Reverend Aaron. If you are like me, the most efficient way to notice a typo in your email is to hit send. It sometimes happens to the staff as well, as nearly perfect as they are. The Fannie Lou Hamer workshop is on the 7th, not the 17th, and today's trip to the museum steps off at 1:15, not 1:30. We welcome those watching the live stream and hope you will fill out the online attendance form, and we encourage those here in person to take a moment to introduce yourself to someone you don't yet know. And I'm excited because Aaron is going to lead our first hymn.
Good morning. Would you rise in body or spirit with me? We're going to sing one of my favorites, Spirit of Life, one time through in English and one time through in Espanol. I love the emphasis on justice and liberation in the Spanish translation of Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor. Our call to worship this morning comes from the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, the Minister of Lifespan Religious Education at the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock in New York. This reading comes from Centering, Navigating Race, Authenticity, and Power in Ministry. The Reverend Dr. Fenimore says, Shirley Chisholm was asked why she, a Black woman, was running for president. "You don't have a chance. Why are you doing that?" someone asked. And Chisholm said, "Because I am in love with the America that does not yet exist." And that's how Unitarian Universalism is also. I'm in love with the Unitarian Universalism that does not yet exist, but I have to hold both the love of that thing and the love for the reality. It does not yet exist. It will probably not exist in my lifetime. I don't think it will in that of my children, but I can't deny my love for it. You know, wanting to be there in that struggle. That's why I'm fighting. And with this, we enter into the spirit of worship together.
Please join me as we say our covenant, our congregational covenant. You'll find it in the order of service. Love is the spirit of our congregation. Service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to encourage one another. Thus do we covenant.
And for their flexibility when I said, could we do something different than what I originally said we were going to do? It is my joy for our special music today to premiere the music video for I Am Willing, as recorded by my band, but it was written and originally performed, written by someone else, but performed by Holly Neer. It's an anthem of commitment to justice, and one of our volunteers offered to make a video for it. So I premiere it with you today, and then we'll deepen our spirit for that commitment of what we are willing to do as the service goes on. Thank you.
Those who go before us, so lift me up to the light of change. There is a hurting in my family, and there is sorrow in my town. There is a panic all across the
Oh, can you hear me? There we go. Now is the time when the young folks in the congregation get to go and do some different cool things than the cool things we do here. It's the first service, so Carol is actually meeting with some of the OWL students and parents. And if you have kids and don't know about Our Whole Lives, it's an amazing program, and I hope that you ask Carol about it. But what the young people who are leaving are about to do, they're getting a jump start on the adults because they're going to start learning about our February Lives of the Spirit person, who's Fannie Lou Hamer. So that should be really interesting. So young folks, we love you. You're an important part of the church. And please head out with John. Do I see John? There's John in a red shirt. Head out with John as the adults sing to you the As You Go, and the lyrics are in the order of service. This is the time during the service when we pause, when we take the time to enjoy just being. It's the time when we stop rushing and try to shut out distractions. It's the time during the week when we are able to be comfortable with the silence. And so, we have intentionally carved out this time to calmly enter into a time of quietness. This is a time that some call meditation, and others name prayer. Let your body settle into a comfortable place. Breathe with me as we gather to do the holy work of kinship and support. Open your mind, open your heart. God of many names and mystery beyond all our naming. As Black History Month begins, we acknowledge that the last several years have shown that the arc of the moral universe may not be as near to justice as we might have imagined. Blatant racism, division, and violence are featured regularly on each newscast, and often our state is featured prominently. We ask that the words of Theodore Parker and Martin Luther King resonate with us in a new and special way this day. Help us to remember to see and recognize the inherent worth and dignity of every person. May our hearts be open to renew our commitment to justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. We pray in the names of all those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten. We pray in the names of all helpers of humankind. Amen. We pause now together to lift up that which sits heavy and light on our hearts. While we know the attention of the Almighty is sought by those seeking to influence the winners of the Grammys and the Super Bowl, we ask for help in influencing governments to provide peace and comfort to war-torn countries and justice to countries suffering from not just physical brutality, but the violence of poverty. We now turn to a practice inspired by African, indigenous, and pagan traditions. We say aloud or bring to mind those who we wish to be held by the loving embrace of this religious community. They are part of the great cloud of witness and memory, and we will, even if we do not know their names, hold them in our hearts. In this great cloud of witness and memory, amid this beloved community, we hear these names and hold them in our hearts. Let us remember the suffering and joy amid and among our community that we do not know. Each week at this juncture, we enter into a time of silence, a time when we pause in awe and wonder of the beauty, diversity, and mystery that is life. In the spirit of love, in the spirit of hope, and in the spirit of compassion, I now invite each of you to enter into a time of silent prayer, meditation, or reflection.
Each week, our morning offering is shared with an organization that shares our Unitarian Universalist values, and through which we may live out our principles in the world. Today, our shared offering will help to support the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. And if you want to make that shorter, try TXUUJM. Educates and organizes Texas UUs like us, member congregations and partners, to advocate effectively for UU principles in public policy and the public square. Our guest preacher this morning, Reverend Aaron Walter, is the executive director of TXUUJM.
On behalf of our board, the advisory council that includes members of your congregation and all of your sibling UUs across the state of Texas. There are about 40 congregations in cities, in towns, in rural areas, in suburbs. Thank you. Thank you for your support over the years and for the support and generosity you show today. The Texas UU Justice Ministry is you. The work we do is with you and for all of us and for our state that so dearly, dearly needs UU values and accountability for our elected leaders and in the public square. I know sometimes it's easy to lose hope. So let me tell you some of the things that your work and generosity has accomplished recently. We worked with one of our member congregations to train 20 OWL facilitators so that our youth are getting the support and education they need, even if our state is fighting against them sometimes. We defeated 3/4 of the bills that were anti-separation of church and state. And we continue to fight the one that remains about putting chaplains in schools instead of trained counselors. We defeated 95% in our coalition of the anti-LGBTQIA+ bills. 95%. Imagine if you weren't showing up like you saw in that video. Those were you. Some of you may have seen yourself, but in that video in the Capitol, those were UUs and our partners showing up. Imagine if we didn't do that. Imagine the things that could have gotten through. Over 2 legislative sessions, we have worked with our partners to go from 2 months of postpartum health care in this state to 12. And that passed this session. It's huge. And most recently, defeated 100% of the private school voucher schemes that would have depleted funds from our public schools over 4 exhausting special sessions. Your Texas UU Justice Ministry does not have a building. The churches that we come to are where we do our work, and the Capitol is where we do our work. So every amount of money that you give is directly translated to energy and time for our team to organize. And the last thing I'll say is, you know how hard it is to organize people just in one church? So imagine the energy and time that it takes to organize UUs across this entire state with all that we face. So I ask you to be as generous as you possibly can be, and I promise you that we will put that generosity to very powerful use. Thank you so much.
Our regular Sunday morning offering collection invites you to weave a tapestry of love and action. We ask you to give generously, and now the offering will be gratefully received.
Please join with me in saying the dedication to the offering, which can be found in your order of service. To the work of this church, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings.
Our first reading today is a quote from Dorothy Day. People say, What is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has the right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. Here ends the reading.
Our second reading's also a quote, but this one is by W.E.B. Du Bois. Now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not some future day or future year. It is today that we fit ourselves for the greater usefulness of tomorrow. Today is the seed time. Now are the hours of work, and tomorrow comes the harvest and the playtime. Here ends the second reading.
Please rise in body or spirit. Join me with hymn number 1020 from your teal hymnals.
Will you stay standing for me and add some snaps? You can put your hymnals down. Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Come on, come on, come on. Yes, don't you want to vote? You sound so good. More. Come on, come on, come on. Don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. Have you registered somebody? Have you registered somebody? You can clap. Don't you want to vote? Have you registered somebody? Don't you want to vote? Have you registered somebody? Don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. Will you meet me at the polling place? Will you meet me at the polling place? Yep. Don't you want to vote? Will you meet me at the polling place? Don't you want to vote? Will you meet me at the polling place? Don't you want to vote? Oh, yes, I want to vote. One more time for the children. Will
Will you do it for the children? Don't you want to vote? Will you do it for the children? Don't you want to vote? Oh, I said, do it for the children. Yes. Yes, you sound so good. Yes. Thank you. You may be seated, or you can always stand up and move in this church, I believe. All things by consent and all things as the Spirit moves. Thank you. Do you want to vote? Do you? Yes, I do. Tomorrow is the last day to register to vote before, to be eligible for the general election in November. So just a little reminder there for you. But I read something recently. Do you remember when you had to fight for what you take for granted now? Or what you already have now? Do you remember the work you put in for something that seems common to some people now? For Black people to vote, for women to vote, for everybody to vote. We know that not everybody has that right even today. We know that there's still work to do so that people know where their polling place is, so that the vote isn't suppressed. And so I bring that song from the civil rights movement and the Christian tradition that was, don't you want to go? But our partners at the Poor People's Campaign sing it, don't you want to vote? And I feel like our job, and I love working with my colleague, Reverend Scott, and I appreciate Reverend Dr. Colin Boston for the invitation. I feel like our job as ministers is to equip you with tools to keep up the work. And so that song, when you get a little downtrodden, I want you to put it in your pocket and have it there for you. And the questions in that song, not just don't you want to vote, but have you registered somebody? Will you meet me at the polling place? Will you do it for not just the children, but the generations and generations to come, are what's on my heart right now. We hear people talk about saving democracy. It reminds me a little bit of the work of reproductive justice, where our hearts are broken over the loss of Roe v. Wade. But Roe v. Wade also didn't do everything for us. Many people still didn't have access to abortion health care and reproductive health care that they needed. And our democracy, even as we fight to save it, we have so much work to do. I have a vision that I hold close to my heart, where I try to imagine what our country would be like, what our world would be like 1,000 elections from now. Not just this election, but 1,000 elections from now, after we've continued the work of those who came before, and we've invited into the work the generations to come, so that everybody's vote counts. And we're going to talk about the numbers here in Houston in just a minute. I love that quote from Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore and from Shirley Chisholm about that commitment, that love for an America and a Unitarian Universalism that does not yet exist. I want to tell you something. I am in love with the Texas that already does exist. I am a fourth-generation Texan raising fifth-generation Texans. I am the middle of 3 generations of Unitarian Universalists in my life right now, my mother, my kids, myself. But I actually love the Texas that does exist. What I don't love is having leaders that don't represent all of us. Texas is a deeply diverse state of people bringing wisdom and lived experience from all kinds of cultures and backgrounds and spiritual traditions. It's beautiful. We have a lot of work to do to get leadership that represents us. Let's talk about our numbers.
This is percentage voting by age, gender, educational attainment, race, family income in the 2000 presidential election, which is some of the best numbers that we have here in the state. People who are in our highest income bracket, 75% of them are voting. People who are in the lowest income bracket, 42%. And about 50 to 60% in the middle. The people who are not voting, it is my deep belief, have a lot of the answers to the problems that we're facing. And so at the Texas UU Justice Ministry, the work that we're inviting you into this year is interfaith work for democracy. We know that a lot of UUs belong to the two major political parties, perhaps one more so than the other. And we know that a lot of you receive a lot of barrage of information during election time. Who gets a lot of text messages, calls, letters? It's just unsubscribe, right? It's tiring. You're not alone. And that machine is set up so that the folks in those parties will show up to reliably vote for those parties. And I'm not here to debate that. But what I'm here to tell you as a minister and someone who cares about democracy, our fifth principle of Unitarian Universalism commits us to it, is that we need to reach everybody else as an act of faith. So the work that we do with the Texas UU Justice Ministry is with interfaith partners doing nonpartisan work to make sure that people who aren't voting or who rarely vote get their voices heard. Here in Harris County, you added more voters than any other county, an increase of more than 230,000 over the past 4 years. Can you give yourselves a round of applause for that? I know there are people in this congregation who are doing the work of registering people to vote. Harris County has more than 2.6 million registered voters as of last month, January 2024. If we can do powerful work here in Harris County, and I know that we can, the impact, those ripples that you heard about in the readings, the impact will be enormous. Because we're not just talking about this election, we're talking about generations and generations of people who need to believe again that their vote matters. From my colleague, Josh Houston of our partner organization, Texas Impact, he says, feel like your voice doesn't matter. Only 14% of eligible Texans vote in the March primaries. 14%. But that's when most state legislative seats get decided. Legislators aren't ignoring their constituents, he said. They're just listening to the folks who bother to show up. Now I'm gonna edit my friend Josh here a little bit. It's not really who bother to show up. There are absolutely forces at work out there that we are called to counteract that are trying to keep a lot of people from showing up. They're moving the polling places. They're changing the laws about how college students can vote. The gerrymandering is real. And at the same time, I need you to know this, because gerrymandering is one of the things that people bring up the most when they talk about losing faith in democracy in Texas and it being hopeless. Gerrymandering means nothing in these statewide races. And I would love to be showing up at the Texas Capitol to fight for UU values without some of those statewide leaders that have been elected, with a different governor, with a different attorney general. I imagine life for the asylum seekers and the immigrants coming into Texas, life for our trans siblings and family members and friends, life for this land in Texas that I love so much with some different statewide leaders. So if you do anything, I beg of you to remind people that just because, yes, we do have work to do against gerrymandering, that is not a reason to give up. Your vote still matters. There's just not enough of us voting yet. So I invite you this year to really be part of a faith movement for democracy, not just to have the outcomes we want in this election, but to imagine a different world. Last time I was here with you was on July 4th, a year and a half ago, and we talked about rooting our justice work in love. And so I want to invite you into a meditation with me. Will you take a breath with me? I invite you to think about someone you love here in Texas, or something you love about Texas, something you would be heartbroken to lose, because we have to fight to keep the things and the people here that we love. One of the people in that music video that you saw, Adri Perez, someone I love, has left the state now after experiencing violence in the Capitol. Some of the families in my home congregation at First UU, half of them have moved out of state for safety, for health care. I don't want us to lose anyone else. So I invite you to picture those people, those things, those rights, the land that you love. And now imagine far into the future. What does Texas look like if every voice matters? If every vote counts? I'm trusting your imaginations. Do you see the land with better environmental laws? Breathe the air after we've elected people who care about climate justice. Send your children and your grandchildren to schools that educate them about real history, about LGBTQ history and Black history and Native culture and Latinx history and all of our history. Send them into those schools without fear of a mass shooting. Send the children of 1,000 years from now into a school with no fear of a mass shooting. Send the generations and generations that follow you into a doctor's office with no worries for what it costs, with no judgment about their choices for health care. And I'm going to leave some quiet in this meditation for you to envision the thing that maybe I'm not thinking to name, but that is the most important thing to you for 1,000 elections from now. Picture it. I invite you to come back into the room, into the Texas that I love and the Houston that has added 230,000 voters, into this church that I tell you has some of the most active and engaged and get it done people working for democracy of any UU church in the state. You can do it. Some days I need you to remind me that, but I need to tell you, I know that this church is one of the ones that is making those ripple effects. People who have not graduated from high school, Texas citizens, 68% of them did not vote in the 2000 presidential election. Their voices matter. 68% of 18 to 24-year-olds didn't vote. Why? I was so excited when I turned 18 to vote. I have a picture of myself somewhere with my Yo Voté and my I voted sticker. We have got to tell the stories. This is our work as people of faith, to get people back into democracy. Because if we don't, it's not sexy. Like, I could be spending my whole life on rock and roll. Like, it's not, but it's so important. If we don't do this work, I don't have to imagine it. We've seen it. We've seen the erosion. And those of you who worked for the rights that we're losing now, my heart is with you. I am sorry. I am grieving with you. And all I can do is promise you that your Texas UU Justice Ministry will never give up. And we see it as generations and generations of work. And we need you with us as we do it. We have to tell those faith stories of why democracy is part of our faith, because we believe that the people that are not voting yet have a lot of the answers that we need for the world that you've imagined and the world that we dream about. In the practical sense, I will just tell you the invitations that we have for you, and then we'll do a little more singing. And I'll hope to see you out at the JCC table, signing up for all the things that your wonderful justice team has for you to do. We do all our work in relationship with them as well. So I ask you, if you're not yet, to be on our email list at txuujm.org. That's txuujm.org. We have a statewide gathering on March 23rd at First Unitarian in Dallas. You are invited to join us there in person and connect with other UUs and get inspired together, connect, figure out the practicalities of how you want to work with other churches, or join us online. We always offer an access point online. Every Thursday, we hold Action Hour at 7 p.m. Central on Zoom, where you can come and you can take action that our volunteer team has put together. Your very own Dale Story serves on the board and is on the Action Hour team. And he, along with others, pay attention so that you don't have to get overwhelmed by every organizational email in your inbox. It's too much. You don't have to do it. So Dale helps do that for you. Thank you, Dale. And we look for what our frontline partners are asking of us, and we present every Thursday night the most important actions, and we invite you to join us. And I'll tell you what I told your siblings at Bay Area UU last Thursday. I would love it if we would just see a flood of First UU Houston folks in that chat. When we say, where are you coming here from? What church inspired you to come and take action today? We would love to see you there, and we would love to know that your church is deep in this work with us. The last thing I'll say is, if you saw yourself in that video, thank you. If you're someone who has been a donor to your justice ministry, thank you. But if you're not, if this is the first time you're really hearing about us, or the first time you're considering, maybe I will take an action, maybe I will sign up to do some get out the vote work, maybe I will do a phone bank with them this summer and fall. If this is the first time for you, would you raise your hand? You've never done anything with us before, so you might be new. I see a few of you, yes. I want to tell you something. You are the good news for us, because we get tired. Showing up at the Capitol all the time in the face of all of that hatred and struggle is not easy work. And the good news is that there are more and more UUs that we can be doing this work together as a spiritual practice. You do not have to do that work alone from the readings. We are here to do it with you. We will have a grant that we're working on to do Get Out the Vote work together, and so you'll be hearing a lot from us this year. So I'm here today to meet you, and I hope to get to visit with you in coffee hour, but I ask you to just keep that vision with me. I know it's possible. People will tell you that it's not, but it is, and we will build that world together. In the words of Shirley Chisholm, I am in love with the America that does not yet exist. And in the words of Dr. Fenimore, I am in that struggle. I love the reality, and I love the thing that yet exists. Thank you for being a part of this work with us.
We will see you in the struggle. Blessed be.
Please rise and join me in body and spirit with hymn number 108 in your gray hymnals.
Join me in the words of the extinguishing of our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Will you turn to someone in the congregation? Maybe look somebody in the eye. Can you turn to somebody and tell them, your vote matters to me. Your voice matters to me. I believe that we can make a change together. I believe that we can make a change together. We have to believe it if we're going to go out there and do it. And I know it's hard sometimes. But you showing up, you being a part of this church, renews that belief for me. So I invite you into the spirit of benediction as we close out our time together and we go forth to do the work in the world. Spirit of life and love, thank you for this place, these people, this day to renew. It is the seed time.
As Du Bois tells us, it is the seed time, and as Day tells us, there is much work to do. But our faith, as Unitarian Universalist tells us, each of us has inherent worth and dignity, and the web of life is interconnected. And so we know that we can do it together. Go in peace and love, knowing that your voice matters. Amen.
For once in my life, it's gonna feel real good, gonna make a difference, gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize that there are some with no home, not a nickel to loan. Could it be really me pretending that they're not alone? A willow deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change.
Thank you for joining us. We want to know who you are and would love to connect with you. Please fill out the link to the online attendance form, and if you are on YouTube, click like and subscribe. If you're interested in joining our congregation, email us at membership@firstuuhouston.org. Thanks so much.